coming to you live from Vanderbilt Hall at the Grand Central Terminal as we celebrate the 30th anniversary of WFAN. And I get a chance right now to bring in someone who played a little role in that many years ago and has gone on to other things. And we bring him back now. And that is, of course, Don Imus, who joins us now. Don, how are you?
Mike, baby, how you doing?
Good, Don. How's everything?
Well, I wear these diesel sneakers,
Right.
and I don't like to unlace them. I like to keep them tied.
Right.
So I got a 2-foot shoehorn. So, you don't have to bend over anything. That's the greatest invention. It's the greatest invention since hash browns.
Is that true?
Yeah, so I stick it in there and put the shoes on.
Don, has it come to that, really?
So 30 years now, does that mean when it started, what was that station, 1050, what was that, HN or HK? Or?
Yeah, HN, WHN, went back in the day, 1050, and then they went and grabbed you and went down the dial. Remember those days? Can you remember that time?
I vaguely remember.
Vaguely,
it was before, it was, I had been out of rehab a couple of years then. It was 89, I believe. And but I thought Imus bought NBC. It was Jeff Smullian.
Right.
That was sports radio. That was his idea, right?
That was his, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And wasn't going very well, so they basically decided to see if they could latch on to something, latched on to you. I remember the first time they sent me over there to visit you because they said you got to get to know Imus. So I went over there, and it was just you were so warm and cuddly. It was just such a nice experience, going over there and seeing you. But Don, before one thing, I got a little surprise for you. So I figured since this is a day where we're going to have a little, rendezvous, I got a little present for you in about real quick. I'll give it to you in a minute, but a little surprise for you. But coming up. But before we get there, tell me the first thing you remember when you heard that they were going to connect the stations.
Well, I don't remember what I thought. I knew that when Imus bought WNBC, then I knew they bought my contract.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about sports. I like sports, but I wasn't prepared to talk to somebody about sports. So they said, "Well, we're going to do sports, but you do your show." And we'll get some people to do sports. Now, the people they had on HN were terrible. I think they had Jim Lampley. He's a lovely guy. But, man, he shoved me and said, "Please don't do radio, Jim. Come on, stop it." So they had awful people. But somehow, so we started to do that. Well, the 660 dial, as you know, is a 50,000-watt clear channel signal.
Monster.
So you could hear it in 38 states at night,
Yep.
And HN you couldn't hear anywhere, HK, whatever it's called.
HN.
So that was a boost right away. And then they started to hire some pretty good people. And along came you, and along came Mad Dog, and some other people. Hey, I heard Minko earlier today. I'm one of my favorite people on the planet. But Minko sounded like he'd been sucking out a helium balloon.
Oh, forget
What's up with him?
He's been at the dentist more than your car's been in the shop, Don. I can, that. I mean, he's had his whole mouth redone. It's just scary.
He still sounds great, though.
Yeah, he does. He's great, and he's been with me all these years. And everyone else left me flat. All took off. You all went to different places and left me here with Minko. I mean, that wasn't nice, but I mean, I tried to make the best of it. Talking about that, here's my surprise. I figured, since we'd have reunion day, why don't you just come in and say hello to Mr. Imus?
Yes! Hello, Mikey, baby! Donnie, buddy! How is my main man? Donnie Imus!
Don, you remember that voice at all?
Oh, man, I remember. The guy who first told me about Mad Dog was Bernard McGurk.
Right.
He said, "You got to hear this guy." So then we started having you and Chris on to do sports on our show. And I thought you both, I still do, and I thought these guys have a lot of talent. You did, and Chris, and I thought one thing led to another, and they got you together. I know everybody wants to take credit for putting you guys together, but Mark Mason, who, by the way, could easily be the worst person on God's earth. Kim Jong-un is a nicer person than Mark Mason. God, what a creep. Anyway.
Yeah.
But they got you guys on the air from day one. It was, I know the first day was a little shaky, but God, man, that was great radio.
That's because
wow.
you know, Don, you really at the time were so much trying to keep us together, and we're so much a peaceful, factor in that. You know, you didn't do anything to try and make it worse. You really
Yes,
helped.
Well, of course we did, but the point was, it was great radio. You guys did. That was great radio, man. I know something about radio. That was great radio.
Don, what made you come up with the Fatso and Fruit Loops thing? That was a tremendous. You call this out all the time. What made you come up with that?
Well, Mike is fat, and I thought you were gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but of course there's not. But, well, no, I like the alliteration, the Fatso and Fruit Loops. And no, you both know I liked you a lot then, and I'll always remember the rest of my life how loyal you were to me. How you both risked your job, literally risked your jobs for mine, and two of the better people on the planet, you and Mike.
Let's be honest, we had a lot of fun, and
we had a lot of fun.
We did have a great time, and with your show and you promoting us and everything, and Dog and I, and hello, Dog, how are you?
Mike, good to hear from you. And,
Nice
hit
talking to you.
Without Don, there is no Mike and the Mad Dog, and there's no WFAN.
I loved working for Chernoff. I think Chernoff was the best program director other than Bob Pittman I ever worked for, and so those days were a lot of fun.
They were great. Every day at 12:30, I used to go back down to Don's office and sit there, and Don and I would talk about people for a half hour, and then I'd go to work. Yeah.
Make me laugh for it, and I was sitting back there for all those days taking as many Vicodin as I could, because I had some pain.
Yeah, by 1:30, Don, you were unconscious. Let's be honest.
I had a lot of pain, baby. Pain.
By 1:30, you didn't know what state you were in.
Anyway, but those were a lot of fun. It was a great place to work, and you guys were great.
And in my sunroom, I still have the Imus jukebox, still programmed by Don Imus, in my home all these years later.
Well, I used to come in a bit because I didn't have any Jerry Bale records on there.
And Mike, do you still drive the Porsche to work every day or no?
Yeah,
Dog, I do. As a matter of fact, I do.
Well, yeah, now he does. Well, that was a great radio station, a lot of fun. Still a good station. It was a lot of fun.
Don, I have one question for you.
Sure.
Whatever happened to you?
Well, I'm down here in Texas.
Do you ever come to New York, ever?
Yeah, I was there a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, you were here?
Yeah, I still have an apartment over there in Central Park West.
Oh, really?
Sure.
So you have to tell me, before I finish up here this year, I have to come over when you're going to be in studio one day. I got to come over one day, but I want you to be here.
Well, we'd love to have you on. I think I talked to Chernoff.
Yeah, he said I can do it. He said I can do it.
He's like trying to book the Pope, But
hey, he said I can do it, and I want you to be in New York when I do. I don't want to sit there and look at Sid and Bernie. I want to talk to you.
Well, you can talk to me, Mike, but you don't have to see me.
I want to see you, though. I want you to be here.
I'm sure you do.
I want you to be here. I don't want you to be in Texas. You're in Texas, they're propping you up in one of those chairs in Texas. That's awful.
And Mike, let's be fair. Yeah, I hate this. I don't want to kiss his rear end, but if it wasn't for Don, there wouldn't be a WFAN.
Well, that's not true.
No, yes, Mike, tell him. Yes,
you're way too nice. That's not true. You guys,
Dog, we've always told that lie. Let's not tell it anymore.
You both are responsible for a great deal.
No, that is very. It's
radio
actually.
Station, and I wish you both would get back together. So.
Yeah, you know what? I tell you though, and we do have Don. We do have that. Have you seen our 30 for 30 thing yet? You've been
no, I have not. They tried to get me to do that. I talked to Ted Shaker.
Right.
And I said, well, I have to have approval of the final edit.
Right.
He said, well, we don't do that. I said, well, then don't come down here.
You're still that much of a control freak even now?
Yeah, I'm still a prick. Well, I'm happy for both of you. I'm glad you guys are doing well. I love Chernoff. Say hi to Steve Summers. I loved him. Hey, is Eddie Scazzeri? He's still around there?
Yeah, he is. Hey, Wes, tell me, how's your son doing?
He's doing great. He's the defending YRA 19 and under Texas State calf roping champion. He just finished his freshman year at Rice University.
All right.
So he's doing great.
So he's an actual rodeo star?
Oh, he's a badass.
Really?
Oh, he's tremendous.
Really? That's
He's one of
great.
the 5 best calf ropers in America.
Is he
outta here.
really?
Is he?
Wow.
He's a badass.
Really? That's unbelievable.
I remember when he was born. Mike does as well. I mean, and you moved to Texas because that's where all the rodeo stuff is, right, Don?
Well,
No.
yeah, and it's all throughout the Southwest, but
Dog, he
So,
moved to
what's the
Texas
big-
because they have no state income tax. That's why he moved to Texas.
well, we don't need to go down that road, do we, Mike? Well, you guys both sound great.
Thank you,
for-
Don. Hey, listen, Don, thanks for being here today. We appreciate it. And you know what? Without you, seriously, none of this ever would have happened. We all know that. So really, we couldn't do this without you. So thanks for coming on today.
You're very nice, and good luck to both of you. And say hi to everybody. I liked it.
All right, Don.
All right. See.
Hey, dog.
Yes, Mikey boy, how are you today?
He's crazy as ever. You
Oh,
know that?
God, he came across. He sounded good there, too.
He did.
Sounded really good.
Yeah, we got him at the right day. I mean, it's basically, it's probably time for him to have his meal. So, it's
At 5
okay.
o'clock, he was peppy. How
Yeah.
things go? What's the latest in New York? Anything happening I need to know about? How about Porzingis?
Wait a second.
Did
What's
they get traded?
what's the latest in New York? What state are you in?
No.
Don't
They're
you
not
work
gonna
around
trade
here? What do you
Porzingis,
mean?
are
What's
they?
the latest? Where have you been? What state are you in?
No, I'm home today, but I've been following it. But you're on top of this Porzingis stuff and the Yankees, everything else more than I am.
I don't think they'll. I really don't. I know they have gotten some very serious offers for Porzingis. I don't think they'll trade him.
I
don't.
agree.
I
I'd be
don't
surprised.
think they will. I'll be surprised if they pull the trigger. I really will. That's number one. Number two, it's good to see your Giants back in the last place where
Oh,
they
my
belong.
God.
Okay, you had enough championships.
Oh,
all right?
the
You did
Giants
that.
are beyond
But I have
bad.
something else I have to get to first. You
What's
ready?
that?
And that is my favorite Russo graduated from high school the other day.
Yes, he did.
Timmy Russo not only graduated from high school, he got a big athletic award from his school from all the coaches. He's going to be a future coach, and he's off to go to college next year. He's going to Tampa, which is a great little school, the University of Tampa. So tell him congratulations, and I wanted to congratulate him on the air. So way to go, Timmy, and he is a great kid, and he's grown up to be a great
Well, Dan,
kid.
you two. Well, before we get sappy, you
Yeah,
two
he's a great kid.
always have had a very good relationship.
Love him, and he's grown up to be a fine young man. I saw him at the 30 for 30, and one thing about this 30 for 30, they send me a thing the other day and say, listen, Mike, we sent Dog a thing, we sent you a thing, we'd like you, if you could, to do a little bit of promotion, okay? Then basically they have me doing more stops than a presidential candidate would do in August and September on their way to the White House, okay? I mean, it's like 80 different appearances they want me to make in a week.
I felt the same way. Are you going to go to L.A.? Did they want you to go to L.A.?
No, there's no way. I'm not going across the street no less going to L.A. I mean,
So, they asked me. I said, guys, Mike's on vacation until September. There's no way he's going to L.A. to do this.
I'm doing one in the city with you, which we talked about yesterday. I will do that, and then other than that, I don't know. But we'll have to see about
And
this.
I
But
tell you,
I said, listen, Dog will be fine. He'll do all these.
I'm not going to L.A., though, but I'll tell you right now, they did a tremendous job at that show.
They did, and Dog and I saw it at the Tribeca. It's on July 13th. I don't know what time.
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
Oh, 8 o'clock, July 13th. And those of you who didn't see it at the Tribeca, where Dog and I got to see it with our wives, it was very well done, very good. And I tell you, a lot of laughs, Dog. Really, a lot of laughs.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
I tell you, that Celtic Lakers thing they did was phenomenal.
I didn't see it.
That?
You know what? I didn't see it that night. I wasn't home. I haven't seen it yet. I did a lot of those games, as you know, for CBS.
Oh, I know
mean,
you did. You
but
love that series.
A great
love
series.
That 84 final. Oh, my God.
A great series. Well, listen, 30th anniversary FAN. Tell me, what's your first thought about FAN? When you heard about FAN down there in Orlando, Florida, what were you thinking?
Well, Mike, I never thought it was going to make it. I got to New York at MCA there in February of that year. And so it starts July 4th weekend, right? Susan, the first person on.
Yeah, July 1st, yeah.
July 1st. And the Mets are playing the Reds, if I'm not mistaken, a doubleheader in Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken.
Only you would know that. Okay.
I think so. But and you were there much before I was, but I never thought. I said to myself, geez, they're going to eliminate half their audience because women are not going to listen to this. So they're going in with only a 50% chance of being successful because it's only going to get men. I thought it was going to be an absolute no-go, no chance, a waste of time. So I was very, very surprised when it had some lasting power right out of the gate. I did not think it would be successful. I really didn't. And then, of course, after
and when was
7
your
months,
first show?
And then after I got sick of MCA, I couldn't wait to get to MCA.
And when was your first show? Was your first show on New Year's Eve, or that was a second show?
No, my first show was on a Saturday in December,
right
around before New Year's Eve, where Susan was with the Knicks,
right,
traveling with the Knicks, and I was on a Saturday night. And we did the updates then, as you know, every 20, 40, like 5,000 times an hour.
Right.
And Susan was in Indiana. I remember I had her on. That was the first show. The big show that I did early, I was fortunate. I was on overnight with the Eagle-Bear
That fog game, the Fog Bowl.
Yep.
I remember that.
Yeah,
that was like New Year's Eve, right?
I think it was. I had to go look. It was that year. It may have been the week before, but I do think it was New Year's Eve of that year, and I was on 11 to 6. And we had that Fog Bowl, though, which is a huge game in the afternoon. They couldn't see. You remember the game, Eagles?
I remember it well, absolutely.
Eagles and Bears and everything, and I believe the Bears won that game, and then lost the Redskins the next week. So I believe, but that was a big show. And then I did a show after the Niners-Cincinnati Super Bowl, and then Imus. To make a long story short, and then you did Imus, and then as it's chronicled in that 30 for 30, Franklin, the late Pete Franklin, that was a mistake. They shouldn't have hired him anyway. He was a little too acerbic, you know that. They had a contract issue, and then Mason put you and me together. So, Imus had a lot to do with a lot of this, but my first 5 months, I bounced around, did the overnights. I did Saturday. I remember that first show I did. Then I did Imus.
Yep.
Then you came. You were there anyway with Eddie.
We were both doing Imus, at different times.
And you were doing Eddie. When did you start with Eddie?
I started with Eddie, but the bottom line was I started with Eddie about a year in, and I was doing fill-ins before that and weekends. And then I started with Eddie about a year in, and then within 2 months of me and Eddie being together, Eddie and I being together, Pete kept getting sick, or Lampley was out, and I was doing one show or the other every day. I was never in. So he was always by himself because they'd say to me, oh, we need you today to do this, we need you today. Then Pete was never there. I mean, never there.
Never there. And I remember that famous Friday show you did after Thanksgiving. Wasn't there a famous Friday show you did?
That was the first one, the first year. I did that Thursday and Friday. I did Thanksgiving Day, which is the death. I mean, I did the first one. We didn't have football that day, which was one you never want to do. I learned that. And then I did the Friday. But then I filled in for him a lot that first year when they called me in and said to me, hey, you know who Christopher Russo? I said, yeah. And they said, well, here's our plan. And then obviously we all know what happened after that. So that takes us up to present time. And amazingly, it's been on the air for 30 years. I mean,
30 years, this station. And from what you tell me, I know they've had ownership changes. You were telling me a lot of this last year.
Well, yeah, they haven't taken over yet, but they've
they
purchased
haven't taken over yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, but Chernoff got there. I remember when Chernoff became the program director because I was on vacation in St. Martin. And Chernoff, this is 93, right? Wasn't it 93? I believe it was.
93, absolutely.
February of 93, and he called me when I was in St. Martin and said, hi, I'm the new program. I had never heard of him. You were at the station. So Chernoff, Mason was there the first 3.5 years, then Chernoff, and Chernoff's been there ever since. I mean, the old guard, it really has been you, has been Eddie, Summers, Chernoff. Who else I met? Dove's still there, I'm assuming?
Yeah, absolutely. Susan's been there the whole time, Susan.
Susan,
yep.
And Susan now obviously with the Yankees, so you got to count her FAN.
Absolutely.
Some of the Cohen and Gelb, the old producers.
Yep.
I mean, there's still about, 15 to 20 on-air people who are still in the mix in some capacity?
I don't know. There's only 2 show hosts who've been there the whole time. That's Summers and myself, who actually had shows, at regular shows, weekday shows. But other than that, fill-ins, weekends, different thing. I had your buddy Malusis on today. He's got like 15 jobs, when we were talking about when he started working on the show. How
about Richard Neer? How long has Richard Neer been on?
I would say a long time. I mean, I would think he's been there just pretty much. I don't know if he was on the first year, but he was on pretty close, and he's been on the weekend.
Was Eddie on the first weekend?
Eddie was there from the beginning, yes, absolutely. Now, different roles. He was an update guy, and he's been a beat reporter, but he's been there the whole time, absolutely. And I think Nia was on Saturday morning before you for as long as I could possibly remember.
I think Nia. Now, he was at NAW.
Yeah.
He was at NAW, and that's where Chernoff knew
You know,
him.
when that fan started, there was 3 other sports talk in town. 3 different ones that were on.
Right.
And including Nia. There was
11:30. That's right. WNEW did one. That's right.
There was he and Rick Cerrone. You had Dave Sims, who replaced Jack Spector, and you had Art Rush Jr.
And Art came to WFAN for a little while to do shows on the weekend. If I'm not
I never met him. I never saw him.
I think he did shows for us there when he left ABC. Because he was on ABC a long time. Sterling, who I used to grow up listening to, he did shows at FAN too.
Hey, I tell you, the early year when Pete was sick, he had a heart attack. That first couple of months, they used to have on Sterling did shows, Lampley did shows, fill-in shows, Hank Stram, Jimmy Pearsall, who just died, did shows.
How about Bud Ferrillo? Didn't Bud
Ferrillo, the Steamer, did shows. There was so many. Even think about it, Jimmy Pearsall did shows.
Yeah,
how about that?
I forgot that. He did just die. You're right.
Absolutely.
He did shows for us, huh?
Yeah, that first year, absolutely. Hank Stram did shows. I mean, it was amazing how many different guys did. You know,
they really had trouble. And Smully, and I always have told you,
he was in studio with me. He did a whole thing because he got an award, and I spoke at the Talkers thing, and he got an award that day. So he came back and did a couple of hours with me.
Oh, I love Smully.
And he went through the whole thing and what he was doing and what he was thinking and everything else, and how he got Imus and everything else. Very nice guy. Very nice guy.
Mike is the only owner we have ever had who gave talk show hosts Christmas bonuses.
You're right.
Only one.
He was a very nice man.
Great. And then he sold it to Mel, and Mel obviously took it to the next step. Yep. But Smullian did a good job at that station. Let's not forget that. He did a very good job.
And it was his idea. Well, listen, nice of you to call in today. It was very nice of you. I kept it a secret.
Tell me
I will.
What's going on now.
And listen, when you finish that promotional tour before the 13th, let me know, okay? Let me know when you get to Lincoln, Nebraska. Let me know what happens when you get there.
I'll see you then.
Chris Russo.